Hey friends, welcome. What if Naruto stops Yasaka from killing himself movie. Nobody said that there really is a second chance at life. Nobody said that my second chance at life is to grow up as a child soldier. Nobody said that my second chance at life is to grow up in a world that was once fiction. Kumogakure, a village located in a range of tall mountains and quite literally hidden in the clouds. Vast mountain ranges are all you can see, and thunderstorms are as common as seeing the sun rise and set each day. Rivers meander around the mountains as they eventually flow to the sea, and the view of the coastline is something that might even put the Maldives to shame. I say might, because I never did have the chance to visit the Maldives in my previous life. Visually, Kumogakure are made up of two distinct types of people. The people with tanned skin or those with a lighter shade. I belong to the latter. Like most of the populace, I sported light yellow hair. My genetic roots are definitely from Kumo, since I look like any of the ordinary citizens living up in this mountain village. Khan, that is my name in this life, simple and to the point, like how people from Kumo prefer. I have no family name. The Third War was in full swing by the time I could comprehend that this world is the world of Naruto, and it is not pretty. Unlike what the manga or the anime portrays, it is something that is only filled with horror, fear, and propaganda. Like many other children of Kumo and the victims of war, I have no family. I have no idea who my parents are because I have never met them. All I know is that I am Khan, another orphan living in the village hidden in the clouds. By the third year I am here, I had made up my mind that the only way for me to continue living in this bloody world is to be a killer for hire. I had seen for myself what being a civilian means: no power, no say, and too weak to do anything against cold-blooded killers that wield the magical powers of chakra. If I want to stay alive for as long as I possibly can, I have to be able to wield chakra. I need to be a shinobi. There were no restrictions in regards to how young one can be a shinobi, especially during times of war. As long as you are capable of keeping up with the education and prove yourself worthy, you were admitted to the academy to be molded into another faceless tool. It took me a few years, but I managed to get myself admitted by the time I was 6. While I do remember a fair bit of the series, they largely center around another village where all the protagonists gather. Kumogakure isn't such a place. What I do know about the village largely stagnates about the Raikage, the Jinchurikis, Darui, the big-ass turtle, and that is probably about it. Maybe throw in the Gold-Silver brothers for additional information. I definitely wasn't expecting to recognize Ni Yugito. I definitely wasn't expecting to be in the same class as her, much less being her deskmate. I have no idea if fate has plans for me or if this is purely coincidental. Yugito and I both sit at the very back of the class, right at the very left corner where we are easily overlooked. It is an area where we draw the least attention to ourselves, and is why I chose to sit here in the first place. I wasn't expecting her to choose the seat beside mine when she entered the classroom just 5 minutes after I did on our very first day in the academy. Everybody knows who Yugito is. It will be very foolish not to, considering she is Kumo's second Jinchuriki, host to the flaming devil cat Matabi. Whispers follow wherever she goes. Fearful stares trail along wherever she walks. Her presence alone spells fear. She merely casted me a brief glance and a smile when she sat next to me before taking out a book to read, ignoring all the harsh whispers and stares that were directed our way. I remembered that I simply stared at her, jaws dropped, not really knowing what to do. But fuck it, I am an adult, at least mentally, I can handle this much. And so, I take out my own book to read as well. Thank whatever gods out there that I had the foresight to bring a book along for entertainment. The academy is hard, physically. The more intellectual part of the academy course wasn't much of a challenge beyond the initial language barrier, what with the Japanese language being confusing as hell to learn. Thankfully, I got that out of the way even before I entered the academy. With that down, things like history, math, and whatever nonsense that followed wasn't too hard for me to ace them with ease. Things like physical conditioning, taijutsu, ninjutsu, and insert whatever jutsu here are another story entirely. I don't hail from a clan. I do not have shinobi parents. Even when I had taken the effort to try and improve my stamina even prior to joining the academy, the most I could do were things like push-ups and running laps. Those were still not enough to prepare me for the academy. I do not know how to properly punch, kick, stab, and kill. The academy is supposed to be there to rectify all of the above problems. But even then it is lacking. Being a skilled shinobi does not automatically translate into being a good teacher, and that goes for the chunins here. If you want to look further, just look at how Kakashi handled Team 7 pre-Shippuden. The extremely basic tree walking aside, the only thing he ever taught them was those that break the rules are trash. but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash, spiritually lifting. Yes, practically useful? I think not. The clan kids do not care about the subpar academy lessons because they have a clan to fall back on. The same goes for the students with shinobi parents. As you might have imagined, civilian students like myself find ourselves severely lagging behind in the physical department just 1 month into the academy. At this rate, by the time we graduate from the academy, we will be nothing more than cannon fodders. In a world where information and techniques are guarded so zealously, you cannot go far without any form of backing or connections. That is the harsh reality of a shinobi village. When I realized that the Chunin teachers are of no help, I decided to forego my pride and be shameless, asking whoever I know of that might be able to help me for tips. Most brush me away, some indulge me as they give me a tip or two. That was all I could work with. However, it frustrates me, because the amount of help these so-called tips gave me really wasn't much. I know I can be better, I know I can go further, I just need the opportunity. I have no idea what spurred me to do what I did next. It was just another ordinary morning, like me. Yugito is an early bird and values the notion of punctuality. The both of us were just sitting there at our tables reading our books, waiting for the day's lesson to start, and for some unknown reason I opened my mouth. "Do you mind teaching me taijutsu?" There was an awkward pause between us, and for some reason I dare not look in her direction, not even a glance. However, she did give me an answer. Sure. Yugito is merciless. She had started training at the age of 2. The age where she was made into a jinchuriki against her will. She had the best teachers to guide her along and train her in whatever it was deemed necessary for her to learn. The only reason she enrolled into the academy was because the Raikage felt that it was necessary for her mental well-being that she interact with people her age, even if it was for 1 short year. It will not do well for our jinchuriki to be a social idiot. With the kind of life she had led ever since she could think, I couldn't fault her for not knowing what the word restraint meant. Every day before and after school we would spar. She beat me every single time, but I am happy, eager, enthusiastic even, because I now have someone who is willing to teach me to be better, to be stronger, to be able to have the opportunity to learn how to survive in this fucked up world. She corrected every single mistake she could see. She taught me what she knew without holding back, and I learned with an eagerness that I never thought possible. Maybe the thought of being involved in the war in the future spurred me on even more than I realized, but I don't really care to find out. I will learn and I will survive. The plot? I couldn't care and am not able to care. I am not reborn in the right place and age. Whatever happens after the Third War, if there is an after, I will deal with it when I get there. I have to be able to survive the Third War before I can even start thinking about the plot, because right now, I have nothing. Right now, I am nothing. Right now, the only thing I could do is to learn as much as I can in order to survive in this cutthroat world. Yugito is a very reserved individual. I couldn't really remember what her personality was like by the time Shippuden rolled around, so I have no idea what to expect. Even then, I'd like to think that we had formed some sort of friendship between us. It was also during my time spent with her did I really get to experience a fraction of what the life of a jinchuriki is like. The whispers, the stares, they're always around. It really is too much. I have no idea how jinchurikis endured such treatments their entire life without going insane. At least, I probably would. The respect I have for Yugito and B rose a lot higher after experiencing what Yugito had to go through whenever we spent time together outside of the academy in our usual haunt, an abandoned training ground not too far from the academy itself. I recall that in canon, Yugito was captured by the Akatsuki by the zombie duo. That was her importance to the plot, to be a sacrificial side character with no other purpose than to introduce the Akatsuki and what they can really do. But looking back at this sweet and kind girl trying her best to learn how to play the shamisen as we spent our afternoons together, something in my heart twisted in agony at the thought of her fate. For some reason, I cannot picture her dead, just like that. She didn't ask for such a fate, didn't ask to be turned into a jinchuriki and forced into the life of a shinobi against her will. Her mind might have been already too filled with propaganda to ever think about not being a shinobi. But the fact is that she is my first and only friend that has genuinely tried to help me when I have no one by my side. I have no idea when I got this sappy, but maybe the fact that the only person that I could bring myself to trust in this insane world is this little girl caused me to feel this way. Of course, being friends with one of the village's 2 jinchurikis brings about a lot of trouble as well. The matron of the orphanage no longer sees and treats me nicely as how she did before. I became ostracized by almost everyone I knew. The possibility of me making any new friends outside of Yugito dropped to nil the moment word got out. Funnily enough, I couldn't bring myself to care. At the very least, I do have one person who truly cares for my well-being, the blonde-hair girl that is trying to learn how to best play the shamisen because it is the only non-shinobi related thing she knows that brings her joy. And so, I decided to swear a silent vow for my very first friend that had helped me at my lowest when I have nothing to give in return. If I ever survive the Third War, I will do my best to ensure that she stays alive. I will make sure that she is safe from the Akatsuki. It's the only thing I can do for her, my first friend in this insane and twisted world. I actually did it. I graduated from the academy with the new shiny forehead protector worn across my forehead. Things suddenly felt very real the moment I put on my forehead protector. I am now officially a shinobi. Yugito had graduated half a year before me because she is just that advanced for her age, especially with the number of private tutors the Raikage sent to teach her. I never saw her again after that day, but at least I did manage to give her a present before she left. The present really wasn't much. I didn't have a lot of money to begin with, so my present wasn't anything special. It's just a purple hair clip designed for kunoichis, made to be a lot more resistant to wear and tear. I realized that she has a fondness for purple, so I made sure that the hair clip is purple in color. From the smile on her face when she pins it on her hair for the first time, I guess she loves my present. Despite my best efforts to stand out among the crowd, my status as a civilian orphan is a bigger factor in deciding my future vocation than anything else. I got shafted into the Genin Corps like how more than half the class did. Most of us that were shafted are civilians or orphans, the expendables, people who wouldn't be missed if we die on the front lines. The other lucky half were mostly clan kids or children born with a bloodline. They are the lucky ones who will have the privilege of having a jonin teaching and guiding them every step of the way. People like me are nothing but expendables, but I refuse to die just like that. I refuse to bow to my fate. I had long since decided that I will claw my way up to survival because like hell I was dropped into this world just like that only to die a dog's death. I will survive, one way or another. I learned, I persevered. Fear is my driving force and motivation. The unwillingness to resign to my fate fuels my strength. Where my peers had all given up and succumbed to their exhaustion, I forced myself to continue training and grow stronger. Even if it's just a little, where my peers are too afraid to ask our superiors for help in learning various skills and other training methods, I did the exact opposite. Where my peers are unwilling to forge ahead into danger, I volunteered for the job when I think that the risks are justifiable, because I need such experiences if I want to be a decent shinobi that can survive in any kind of war. It's not much, but small things do accumulate to become even larger over time. I picked myself a skill here, learned another jutsu there, earned myself some tips on kenjutsu and the lightning release from a few chunins, built myself some connections over yonder, and slowly I found myself getting stronger and deadlier as a shinobi. Sure, none of that flashy jutsus that I remember seeing in my previous life. Those belong to the privileged who have the connections and the birthright to. But we are shinobis, we don't need to be almighty. We simply have to be deadly. That still doesn't stop me from reverse engineering whatever jutsu that I could remember and possibly reverse engineer, namely, the Chidori and the Rasengan. Rasengan was easy enough. The steps to learn it were broken down in detail in canon and I remembered the key points that made a Rasengan a Rasengan. Chidori was a lot trickier, but I am a shinobi from Kumogakure. Lightning release is our bread and butter, and Chidori at its very core is a jutsu made possible by directing a high concentration of lightning chakra to your hand. I could work with that. Of course, I also knew Chidori's greatest drawback. I do not have the Sharingan and I sure as hell am not open to the idea of having the eye of a dead monster inside my skull. What I am aiming for is the variance that evolved from Chidori, the variance that Sasuke had invented, which does not require the Sharingan, and more importantly, the underrated S-rank jutsu that is Kirin. Those are jutsus that I could possibly learn and use without any broken bloodlines or clan backing. Those are jutsus that I can possibly learn by simply putting in a lot of hard work, something which I am more than willing to do. It took me years before I could form a manageable Rasengan and the Chidori variants. It made me realize just how fucking thick Naruto's and Sasuke's plot armor were. Regardless, I kept my inventions a secret because by now, there really isn't a need to draw attention to myself. By now I have the skills, techniques, and experience that I need to stay alive in this war. I am fine being a career chunin if it means being stuck on the safer missions. I am fine with being just another face within the crowd because after all, I just want to survive long enough to live in the peaceful era that the child of prophecy was supposed to bring. That really was my initial plan. Living through war within the village was one thing. Being on the front lines was another. I had lost count of how many I had killed or helped kill. My victims came from all over the place and thankfully, or not, none of them are canon characters as far as I could recall. What I do realize is that my peers within my age group had started to diminish one after the other. Many died, some others suffered permanent injuries that no longer allow them to be on the front lines. In any case, the few that are left, like me, are those who steadily began to see the rise of our strength as shinobis. I can tell from how Jonins and elite Jonins are starting to notice my name. I can tell from how they purposely request for me to be on their team during missions. I can tell from how my superiors are more willing to impart their knowledge and experience when I asked, because they feel that I am worth the investment and as an asset to the village. Time passed in a blur. I had been in the war for years now, and although it had gotten easier, it still wasn't easy. I am still a teenager at 16, and that is saying something, because being able to live till this age in such times as an orphan with a civilian background is an achievement in itself. Many did not live past 14 upon being thrust into war immediately after their graduation from the academy. I never even had the chance to return back to the village for a goddamn break, not even once. Such is the life of the expendables. The only break we will ever catch is when we die, or if we live till the war is over. I was too busy trying to stay alive that I did not keep track of time really well. What I do remember is that towards the end of this blasted war, I met her once more. I could tell that she was surprised as well. Just as I am, I never expected to be placed on the same team as Matabi's Jinchuriki. The first thing I noted about her was that she had really grown, just as I did. We are no longer children, we are taller, fitter, stronger, and more powerful. Gone are our innocence and childish wonder. She still has a fondness for purple. Her combat attire says it all, and it is starting to resemble what I vaguely remember her attire should be from the series. What really caught me by surprise was that she is still wearing that exact same hair clip that I had gotten for her so many years ago. How long has it been? 5 years? 6 years? Probably even longer, right? I really couldn't remember. I had genuinely lost track of time, all this while I was just too busy trying to stay alive. Khan, her voice brought me out of my thoughts. Her voice now is a lot silky and smooth, but it still has that firm yet gentle tone that I remember her for. A faint smile rests on her face as she walked up to face me, and it was only then that I realized that I am now the taller one among the two of us. She used to be the taller one. Yugito, I replied, not bothering to keep the smile off my face. It's been a long time. Indeed, are you well? Alive? I shrugged before my gaze went back to the hair clip I had given her so many years before. It's very worn and old, and I am surprised it hasn't been destroyed yet. Young as she is our village's Jinchuriki. The missions she had been on must have been insanely difficult, the kinds that I probably won't survive should I embark on it. You still keep it, this? Yes, I do. Her hand subconsciously went up to gingerly touch the hair clip upon my words. It was the very first present I received from a friend after all. For some reason, my heart twisted once again for the second time after so many years when I heard her words. My cheap present was the very first she received. Just how fucked up is this world? I can get you a new one after this is all over, if I return back alive, I offered before I realized what I am actually saying. This hair clip is too old, to the point that it looked like it won't survive another battle. Why? I like this a lot. I can only stare as Yugito pouted. Since when did she ever pout? Ignoring everything else, Yugito dug through her weapons pouch and brought out a scroll before handing it to me. Like the hair clip, the scroll looked old, like she had kept it with her for years. I wanted to give this to you the next time we met, but I never had the chance. I have it with me all these years, just in case I see you again when I least expect it. Do you still want it? I blinked, not believing what I am hearing. She looked at me with her hand outstretched, still holding onto that scroll that she is dangling in front of me like a playful cat. I rubbed my eyes with the back of my hand, pretending that the sudden warmth swelling behind my eyes wasn't there. I never made a true friend ever since I found myself in this insane world. The people that I could get along with, they all died on the warfront years ago. I had always been alone. I had long since accepted the fact that I will die an easily forgotten death. Yet, all this time, she remembered me. All this time, she treasured the memories that we had made in that one short year. For some reason, that really moved me. She's glad that the present she had gotten for him is something that is relevant no matter when he received it. It's a simple sword made of the best chakra-conducting metal she could find. It's not fancy in design and even lacks a proper handguard, but it is perfect in terms of practicality. Just like his personality, She knew that he will one day learn how to use a sword like all Kumo shinobis do, and she is glad that she made the right choice. Her present will serve him well. She watched as her first friend tried to get used to using the present she had gotten for him years ago when she was on a mission near the Land of Iron. He is skilled with a sword, that much she can tell. His expertise with the lightning release is at a solid Jonin level by now, and so she cannot help but ask herself why he is still a Chunin with that level of skill. Is there something that she is missing out on? They did lose contact with each other for about 9 years after all. Her hand subconsciously went up to touch the purple hair clip she wears on her head. Just as how she did many times over the years to reassure herself that it is still there in its rightful position. She is sure that this present must have cost him almost everything when he first gave it to her. It was the very first gift from her very first friend, and it holds a very special place in her heart. Where many others fear her, he doesn't. Where many others left her for fear of being ostracized by the village simply by being associated with her, he doesn't care. Where many others simply see her as Matabi's container, he sees her as who she is as a person. Ni Yugito. Khan doesn't realize it, but what he had done for her is a lot more than most of the villagers would do for her. Simply by being her friend at a time when she needed it most, it kept her sane in her darkest times when Matabi kept whispering dark thoughts into her mind, kept her alive and human at a time when she was so very close to lashing out at everyone and everything. Consequences be damned. Yugito's experienced eyes picked out and dissected Khan's skills without her meaning to. Proficient in the lightning release and kenjutsu, masterful grasp over chakra control, skillful in hiding his presence even in plain sight. There are also clues that might hint to him knowing a thing or two about water release and the earth release, but she isn't too sure. He doesn't really look like he's a frontline fighter, although he could probably hold his own just fine from what she observed thus far. Is he a shinobi that is more geared towards subterfuge and sabotage? Maybe espionage and assassinations? She wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. The crackle of lightning died down as he smoothly sheathed his new present across his back. She let out a Cheshire grin when he turned around to face her once more. Like it? I do. He nodded with a smile on his face. Thanks, Yugito. I will put it to good use. Spar. Just like old times. She's curious. He's definitely no pushover, and even when he is still officially a Chunin, something at the back of her mind tells her that the truth is far from it. A part of her also wants to see if she can still hand him his ass like she always did when they were younger. He answered with a dramatic sigh. That's just plain bullying, Yugito. You didn't complain back then. I was young and naive. Sure. Suor. He half-heartedly tossed a kunai her way, which she idly caught by the handle and flicked it back in his direction. He did the same, and before long, they found themselves partaking in this ridiculous toss the kunai game that slowly increased in intensity. Is this her cue to start their spar? She grinned as she increased the amount of chakra she emits. This is her only warning to him before she gets serious. Watch out, Khan. She launched herself at him in a burst of speed, blowing a small crater on the ground as a result. He didn't seem surprised as he blocked her extended nails with one smooth motion using the blade she had gotten for him. I know it's ladies first, but damn, Yugito, you are too fast. And you still blocked my attack anyway. Stop whining. They began their dance as her nails clashed with his blade. They are not yet serious in their fight. They are fast, but this is not their maximum speed. His blade is not even coated in lightning just yet. So, she picked up the pace, forcing him to show her more of what he could now do. She knew she succeeded when he had no choice but to reveal more of his capabilities when his sword began to crackle with lightning. Like her nails, his blade of lightning could extend at will as it cut down anything in its way. Shape manipulation? That's pretty advanced. His free hand charged with lightning as well, and he threw senbons made of pure lightning at her with a flick of his hand. She easily got rid of it by blowing a fireball and fired several mouse hairballs at him. He simply stood his ground and unleashed a cage of lightning with a radius of about a meter around his person, destroying her technique before it could get close. Pretty neat. What kind of technique was that? Invented it myself. Too lazy to go about naming it though. You got any bright ideas? Kitty shock, she suggested with a grin as their dance resumed. He looked very unimpressed at her suggestion. Come on, Yugito, Kitty shock. It's a perfectly suitable name. She blew another fireball at him and he simply cut it down with his blade. Should she push him further? She does want to see what he is truly capable of. Unfortunately, they have to stop here. A messenger had come running for them from the main camp, telling them to report to their superiors immediately. It seems that their next mission will start sooner than expected. Their first mission together, now that's something she can look forward to. Well, this isn't good, she bristled as she and her team stood opposite the team from Iwa. Nobody told her that they will be going up against Han of all people, the Jinchuriki of the Gobi. Powerful as she is still ways off from being the perfect Jinchuriki and definitely a lot less experienced than someone like Han. Their squad leader obviously knows this as well from how he gave them a silent hand signal to prepare to retreat. This mission had gone foobar the moment they ran into Han, and Iwa knows this as well. Get them. The earth exploded just as they scattered to evade Iwa's attack. Yugito can see how her comrades clashed against the Iwa shinobis as she fired attacks of her own. It only took another second before Han came barreling after her with a gush of steam. His raw power is not something that she can match. Han himself is the bringer of devastation, each of his strikes leaving craters on the earth with the power of steam propelling him. Her agileness is her only saving grace as she danced around him while landing a flurry of cuts on him, but that is pretty much useless considering how heavily armored he is and his insane regeneration capabilities. She needs to get serious. She could call upon Matabi's chakra, but she has no idea how attuned Han is with his tenant. If he is the better one at controlling the beast within, then in a battle of tails she would undoubtedly lose. There's no point in taking part in a battle that she could not win. A powerful blast of lightning got in between her and Han, allowing her to catch a breather as she pulled her distance. She could see how her comrades were slowly retreating and Han signaling to her to get a move on. Some of her comrades are already dead, and within the pile of corpses she could see their squad leader in there too. She grimaced. This isn't good news. She quickly rejoined Khan's side as a few of their comrades secured their retreat with a series of explosion tags thrown at the Iwa nins. That might stop the other Iwa shinobis, but it definitely won't stop Han. If he really wants to give chase, then it's only a matter of time before he catches up to them. Yugito, can you throw up a number of fireballs into the air? Large ones? Sure. But what for? She asked curiously, but still molded her chakra to do just that. She spat massive fireballs into the air like he asked. The Iwa nins will know their exact location, but it's of little consequence. Han is already charging straight at them like a rampaging bull. Khan looked as calm as she is, but his face is one of seriousness as he went through a series of hand seals that she doesn't recognize belonging to any kind of jutsu that she saw before. Large-scale AoE technique, 1 minute, stop him for 1 minute, pull back immediately when I tell you guys to do so. She didn't hesitate to throw herself into the fray the moment he said that. She clashed with Han in an angry snarl, tearing and clawing at him with bursts of fire, and Han retaliated with earth-shattering punches and hissing steam. The other Iwa nins had caught up by now, but their comrades moved to intercept them, recognizing that whatever Khan is planning, it may be the only thing that might be able to save them now. None of them has any better options. The skies became darker as thunderclouds formed at speeds too fast for it to be natural. Rain began to fall, and Yugito knew that this must be Khan's work. The Iwa nins are obviously alarmed at this ominous development and try to go for Khan instead, only for her and her comrades to push them back with equal ferocity. Now, fall back. She leapt back without delay, just in time to see Khan standing atop a tall tree with an incredible amount of lightning gathered into his right hand that is raised into the sky like a lightning rod. Right in the sky is a visage of a mythical beast that is entirely made up of natural lightning, bearing its fangs down at their Iwa adversaries. Khan's face broke into a predatory grin as the light from the lightning lit up his face. Been wanting to say this for a while now, never had a chance. Retreat. The Iwa nins, including Han, immediately recognized the threat Khan's unknown jutsu posed to them as they started to beat a hasty retreat. Khan didn't bother stopping them. There was no need to stop them, as she had found out a second later. Begone with the thunderclap. His hand struck down as he commanded the heavens to crash onto their foes. Kiran, that vest looks good on you. John and Khan, stop it. She laughed without mercy as her friend stood in front of her decked out with a Jonan flak jacket. He grumbled something inaudible under his breath as he trudged his way forward, ignoring her howls of laughter. This guy, he actually wanted to refuse a promotion from their Raikage, by the sage. That was the most hilarious look she ever saw on her Raikage's face when he heard that. She finally managed to laugh everything out of her system and fell in step with him. They are finally back in the village. It's been years, but they are finally back here. The war is over. No, seriously, why haven't anyone realized that you were that strong before? She cannot help but ask as she walks by his side. That jutsu, the Kirin, it's nothing short of amazing, especially when he had invented it all by himself without any help from anyone. It's an S-rank ninjutsu. S-ranked. Sure. The preparations needed for such a jutsu is overly long and the fire release or storm release are needed if thunderclouds are not present in the sky, but hey, Kumo have no shortage of capable shinobis within their ranks to pair him up with in this endeavor, just like how she assisted him back on that mission. That S-rank jutsu, Khan's achievements on the warfront over the years, and the recommendations from the numerous Jonins Khan had worked with over the years had convinced the Raikage enough to promote Khan the moment he returned to the village. With that, Khan is now a Jonin like she is. I just want to survive. Things like rank doesn't matter as long as I come back alive, and besides, I don't really like the responsibility that comes with the title. A career Chunin sounds a lot more relaxed and safer. Patrol, sleep, rinse and repeat. Careful, you are starting to sound a lot like Darui now.
Darui. Oh, I forget that you don't know who he is. Remind me to introduce the both of you one day. Pretty funny fellow, that one.
She gave a sweeping glance at their surroundings.
Where are we going? I was about to find a place to crash for the night. Actually, was wondering if there is an inn or sorts here. It's been too long since I've been back here and too much has changed.
She looked at him in surprise. You don't have a place to stay? Orphan, remember? Kicked out of the orphanage the moment I received the forehead protector and drafted into the army the moment I graduated. This is the first time I came back to the village ever since I joined the army as a freshly minted genin. Why will I have the time to find a place for myself? Her mouth opened and closed without a sound. Right, she had forgotten. She had forgotten how hard his life was when they first met. Then why not come over to my place? What? She can't remember when was the last time she saw an awkward Khan. It's like he has no idea where to place his hands and no idea where to stand or sit the moment he stepped into her house. She lives alone because her parents had died in the line of duty just before she entered the academy. It's a little dusty because she was away for so long, but they had quickly cleaned it up without fuss. She still takes secret joy in seeing Khan acting so out of place within her home. Geez, it's just them in this small little cottage. What's there to be awkward about?
She took a nice long bath and changed out of her combat attire. Letting her long blonde hair flow down freely behind her back untied, she emerged from the bathroom a fresh person and was about to tell Khan that he can use the bathroom now when she spotted him snoring away on the couch.
Guess he really was tired. Sometimes she still has troubles remembering that not everyone has near unlimited stamina like she does after all. She knelt down beside him from where he had passed on the couch, resting her face on the side of the furniture and allowing herself to observe his sleeping face better. He looks so much more gentle when he's asleep. None of that carefully constructed mask that he wears out there on the field and none of the carefully concealed danger that he usually exudes. Just like how he was when they first met, they had all changed and at the same time, never changed. Her enhanced sense of smell picked up on his scent, the same scent that she memorized almost a decade ago when they first met. She doesn't know why, but she ended up staring at his sleeping face for more than an hour in that position until she snapped herself out of it. She smiled. This feeling isn't too bad. She really doesn't mind staring at his sleeping face all day. Ruthless, I tell you, ruthless, monsters, every single one of them.
The very first thing she did when she dragged her tired self through the door was to loudly complain to him how utterly inhumane her instructors are. She really is doing it for nothing but the sake of being dramatic, but who cares?
Welcome back. I see that B's training must not have been rigorous enough if you can still mouth off like that. Do you really want me to die, Khan? You know that won't happen with me around. She rolled her eyes as she made her way to the bathroom to clean herself from all the sweat, dirt, and grime. She is in his house now. She had made a very convincing argument that they should be neighbors the moment she realized that the house beside hers is empty and up for sale. He had accumulated a small fortune for himself over the years, mainly because he never had a chance to spend a single ryo all these years when he was stuck at the front lines. It was enough for him to buy the house with more than enough cash to spare.
So now, they are neighbors, although, it really doesn't matter to them both because they freely entered each other's house like it is their own home. Well, it is mostly her that is doing that. He doesn't enter her home without her invitation because he just doesn't think it is right for a grown man to enter a woman's home unannounced.
That idiot. A few years had passed again. Things are starting to look peaceful once more. Several big events had happened, like the Kyubi attack on Konoha and their village's attempt on Konoha, which resulted in the Hyuga affair. Both of them had made elite Jonin. It still surprises her sometimes with how many cards Khan had hidden up his sleeves and not showed. He probably still has quite a number on him that he never shows, even to her. Heck, the only reason why he got promoted to Elite Jonin was because he was forced to reveal more of his skills during a mission that brought him face to face with Sharingan Kakashi. He was the only reason why his team made it back to the village at all. According to the witnesses, the lightning jutsu they both wield are strikingly similar, which was what allowed Khan to fight Kakashi to a standstill and buy enough time for them all to escape. By the time she emerged from his bathroom trying to dry her hair with a towel, Khan had finished cooking a meal for her. They ate their meal with her directing a large part of their conversations. She is usually not this chatty around others, but it is different if it is Khan. With him, there's nothing she cannot talk about. The winter festival is tomorrow. Wanna go? I never peg you to be the festival type, he commented with an arched eyebrow while drinking on his miso soup. You have a problem with that? She challenged with the same expression he wears on his face, daring him to continue. Nope, he raised his hands up in a gesture of surrender, but I am saying this up front, I have no yukata or whatever related attire to attend the festival. Then all we have to do is to get you one. We are getting you a yukata, right now, she decided right there and then with a determined gleam in her eyes. Wait, what? Right, now, I think this is my third time or so wearing a kimono. How'd I look? Very different, and in a good way, he admitted as they both walked side by side down the streets, basking in the festive mood. She is wearing a dark orange kimono with her hair tied up into an elaborate bun. The same purple hair clip is still pinned on her hair. He is wearing a dark blue yukata that she had picked for him the day before. He is obviously not used to wearing anything outside of the usual shinobi attire. It can be seen from the way he walks. Relax, we are not on a mission right now. No need to be so jumpy, she told him as she wrapped her right arm around his left and started to drag him around, ignoring his protests. Come on. Liven up a little. This is a festival. She had a lot of fun and she is sure he did as well. They played the games at the stall, ate all they wanted, saw the sights they wanted to see. It's easily the happiest time that they both ever experienced. It got her wishing that this moment will stay forever, and so that is what she wished for when they passed by a wishing well. What did you wish for? She was curious, so she asked. They were on their way back home and they both had unanimously decided to take the scenic route back. That you will stay alive no matter what, he replied truthfully without looking her way. The gaze in his eyes is as though he is looking at something so far away that she could not see. I will have you know that I am an elite jonin and a jinchuriki to boot. It takes a lot to put me down. I know, she could not help but let a small smile rest on her face. He is worrying about her in his own quiet way. Ever since their lives start to get so closely intertwined after the war, he has always been looking out for her as best as he could. He didn't do anything overly special, but it's in the little things that he does for her in their everyday lives. Say, Khan? Yeah? She walked up and stood in front of him, allowing them to see each other face to face. The full moon shone brightly overhead as the vast mountain range became a scenic backdrop that she will never forget. She did a nervous gulp, her hands not knowing where is the best position where they should be at. D to you, A are we? She closed her eyes as she tried to get those words out. The words that she had been trying to ask him since a long time ago, ever since they became neighbors, ever since they became more than just friends. I am afraid. Her eyes opened when she heard his words and she looked up to him in confusion. I am afraid, he said once more with a downcast expression. I am not blind, Yugito, and I admit that I start to see you as something more than a friend since quite a while back. But I am afraid of committing too much when our job and duties require us to die for the village at any time. I am afraid of the repercussions that you might face if you ever tangled yourself with a nameless shinobi like me, someone who will never make it big in the world out there where monsters reside. I am afraid that I will hurt you when I go out one day only to never return. I had seen too many of such things happening around me during the war. I had seen what it does to those left behind. Dying is easy, living is hard. Khan, I am afraid that I will sink too deep and get too attached to this village which I hold no real love for. I will be frank, Yugito, I never did understand the attachment and love you have for this village who treats me as nothing but an expendable tool right at the very start no matter how much effort I had put in. If it wasn't for you I might be planning my defection from this village right at this moment. I am afraid, Yugito, that you will one day die and I will go insane because I got too attached. I am afraid that I will live to see the day when this village takes away the only person left that I came to care about in this entire world, you. He took a deep breath and sighed. I am still that useless nobody back at the academy, aren't I? Elite John in my ass. Then don't. She knew she had caught his attention with the certainty she had in her voice. I don't need you to care for the village, I just need you to know that I care for you. I don't need you to be afraid of whether I will die because I just need you to know that I will do my utmost best that it will never happen. That I will always return. I don't need you to be scared of admitting that you are afraid because I am too, but we can face this together just like we did during our days at the academy. You might not know this, but your presence was what kept me sane when I was at my lowest point in my life. You mean a lot to me, Khan, and I want to be able to mean more to you. I want us to mean more. She took another step in front of him as her hands gently cupped the sides of his face. It's all right to be afraid. I am constantly living in fear too, afraid of the cat, afraid that one day one of us might never return without being able to say a last goodbye, but we will survive it, just as how we survived long enough to meet each other again. I am willing to face that fear with you, but are you willing to let me do so? She saw how a lone tear fell from his eye, it was joined by another, then another, and soon she found herself hugging him, trying to ease the outburst of emotions that he had bottled within himself for more than a decade. I won't let you die, Yugito. She can feel his hug around her tighten a little as he said this, his voice hoarse. The same goes for you, I won't let you die, together, we will survive. That night was the most beautiful night she remembered. Sometimes the night will be one of comfortable silence, sometimes it's her playing her shamisen with him reading his book nearby while sipping on some warm tea. Sometimes they can get a little playful, sometimes the night is one of passion that blew her mind. As long as he is around, even the biggest of problems seem to fade away. She loves his presence beside her, she loves how he quietly takes note of her likes and dislikes. She likes how he does special things for her just to make her happy, even if they are simply small little things. She likes how they cuddle with each other on the couch or on the bed after a long day at work. She likes their physical contact and his touch, especially the intimate ones. She likes it when they are conjoined and he makes her scream his name. She likes how their curves fit so perfectly, as if they are each other's missing pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. A pair match made in heaven. They had both changed once more, and yet never changed. Ever since the night where they bared their hearts to each other, it was like he had a newfound motivation to grow even stronger. To be as powerful as the monsters known as S-rank shinobis. Just as their third Raikage invented the Black Lightning, Khan had actually invented a new form of lightning known as the Red Lightning. He is now known as Red Lightning Khan of Kumo, a powerful threat in his own right, a shinobi who now stands by her side as her equal. She is now a perfect Jinchuriki, capable of undergoing a full transformation without much backlash other than experiencing physical exhaustion after the transformation recedes. Her hard work and skills had now earned the acknowledgement and recognition from her village, just like how Killer Bee did. But back in the comfort of their home, they are still the same as when they had first met each other in the academy so many years ago. They would spar, eat, fool around, or simply talk about anything under the sun just like how they always did. As long as they have each other by their side, nothing is ever boring. Every day is a wonderful day. They are 22 years old now. Things have been peaceful for a couple of years. The village is steadily growing stronger. They are no longer young anymore, for shinobi standards anyway. Should we get married? She sprung him that question during one fine morning. Her chin resting on her palm as she lazily watched him preparing their breakfast in the kitchen. She is dressed in nothing but his shirt, which is a few sizes too large for her, and her black panties. Revealing her bare slim legs in all their glory, he is wearing nothing but a pair of shorts. She remembered it being a beautiful morning because the both of them need not work that day and they had a really passionate night the night before. He always seems to know how her body works. She remembered staring at her shirtless boyfriend, appreciating the toned muscles and the scars on his chest while sensually licking her lips without realizing it until she did the action. Somehow, seeing him cook for her in the kitchen while shirtless makes him so very sexy in her eyes. It is a very delectable sight. To his credit, he wasn't fazed by her sudden question. He simply continued cooking as he made his reply, acting like she hadn't just dropped the bomb of a question. Will the Raikage allow it? Especially with your Jinchuriki status? It's already a miracle that he actually allowed us to date and live together for so long. That is why I asked if we should try and take a step further. Never know till we try. He might blow a hole in the Raikage tower again, and I don't want to be the one responsible for fixing it on our day off. They still ended up visiting their Raikage after breakfast. Thankfully, The rakeage tower is still intact by the time they left it because B was there to restrain their rakeage and he was genuinely happy for them, if what they deciphered from his horrible rappings were accurate. The rakeage actually gave his permission for her to marry him, which surprised them. Kumo has always been very strict when it comes to what their Jinchurikis can do with their personal lives. However, secrecy is still a necessity, something which the both of them agreed as well. The union of two shinobis as powerful and dangerous as them will only attract unwanted attention from foreign villages. While Khan is no S-rank shinobi, he is easily among the upper tier of the world's A-rank shinobis. She knew that the reason why his moniker, the Red Lightning, had started to spread across the elemental nations over these years was because he wanted to be a shinobi that can stand by her side as her equal. And he had done it. The moniker of Red Lightning is by no means any less dangerous even when compared to shinobis like Sharingan Kakashi or the Demon of the Mist. So, with their rakeage's help, they managed to get their marriage papers secretly signed and archived in the rakeage tower that day. Both of them are not one for ceremonies, so on the very same day, the both of them decided to exchange their vows at a shrine hidden within one of Kumo's numerous mountains even when they are not dressed for the occasion. It was a shrine that they had stumbled upon during one of their previous vacation trips. B had willingly tagged along as their witness and so did Darui. Under the priest's blessings and B and Darao's gaze, they exchanged their vows and became husband and wife.
They exchanged ceremonial weapons in front of the shrine as per the village's customs.
It's a pair of swords which they now hang on the walls of their living room. One of the swords has a crimson red sheath and handle. The other sword is those of a deep purple. Khan had somehow prepared the pair of swords a long time ago without her knowing and had brought it along when they had decided to get married at the shrine. It seems that she wasn't the only one who had been mulling over the possibility of marriage too. Their rakeage had even very graciously given them an entire month off for their honeymoon to do whatever as long as they keep their travels within the land of lightning and to send a report about their location at least once every single week. The both of them wasted no time in packing up the moment they got back home and happily skipped out of the village hand in hand, ready to enjoy their lives as newlyweds. And at the moment when he swept her off her feet and carried her bridal style, tree-hopping to their holiday destination, she found herself falling in love with him all over again. She's really lucky to have met him, her love of her life, her husband. Khan, her husband, that really has a nice ring to it. She's not sure who she should blame for this, him or her, or maybe them both, considering that they were basically acting like a pair of horny rabbits during their honeymoon. She found that she was pregnant about 2 months after their vacation ended and honestly, she has no idea why she didn't realize sooner that she was pregnant. None of them were prepared for this. They had taken all the precautions they could possibly take and yet it wasn't enough. None of them are ready to be parents. Not only that, being pregnant is not safe for a female Jinchuriki like her. The seal that keeps the beast in will start to weaken from the start of the pregnancy and will be at its weakest during childbirth. If all goes wrong, Matabi will be unleashed during the childbirth and that is the last thing anyone needs. She had thought long and hard about it and it was the same for him. Nevertheless, they still decided to give it a go. They want to bring their child into the world. Their rakeage wasn't happy at the news either. Although he was expecting such a thing to happen sooner or later now that they are married. Kumo has to face this problem eventually. It was then that Yugito was relieved that Khan had started to learn Fuinjutsu ever since the end of the Third War and studied it like his life depended on it even when she could not understand what drove him to do so. Khan does know a thing or two about seals to prevent the worst outcome from ever happening. He is not an expert, but he is already one of the best shinobis Kumo can offer when it comes to Fuinjutsu. Fuinjutsu is arguably the most elusive shinobi art to ever grace the world. It is a dying skill. Kumo could not claim to have seal masters within their ranks. That honor goes to the now extinct Uzugakure and the current Konohagakure, but Kumo's knowledge in this branch of the shinobi arts is enough to control their tailed beasts. If the worst really is to come, they still have the amber sealing pod to fall back on. However, she is less worried about the cat breaking loose to destroy the village but rather, more worried about what that would mean for the life growing within her. She does not want their child to die simply because she is incapable as a Jinchuriki. She had tried delving within her mind to talk to Matabi. While she can claim herself to be a perfect Jinchuriki, Matabi and her are never exactly on good terms. They both begrudgingly respect each other and the cat is more than willing to lend her its power should she need it to stay alive due to the importance it places on its self-preservation. But that is about it. All they have within them is a bond of mutual cooperation. They have not forged a lasting friendship like what B had done with the Hachibi. She has no doubts that the cat will still try to break free at the first opportunity that presented itself. Matabi didn't kick her out of her mind immediately, which is a good sign, but the talks had still failed. She can understand Matabi's longing for freedom, but she is not going to jeopardize her child's safety. She will do whatever it takes to hold the beast back, and she is sure that he is hard at work to ensure that their child can be safely born into this world too. She is sure that he will do his best to ensure their safety, so that they can have a complete family. A faint smile graced her face at the thought. Family, she's a Jinchuriki, an outcast, but she now has a family, she has her husband, and now she has their child. That thought doesn't sound that bad, and it makes her feel that everything is going to be worth it. Being a parent is maddening, infuriatingly, hilariously, hard. She is 26 now. She is Ni Yugito, the Jinchuriki of Matabi, one of the best and deadliest kunoichis of Kumo, wife to Kan. And also the mother to one 4-year-old Ni Yukari. She decided that she really loves peacetime. Things are stable, the economy is thriving, and so is the village, allowing everyone the time and opportunity to seek their own happiness. It was what made it possible for her to marry Kan and start a family with him. It was what allowed them to welcome Yukari into this world. Childbirth is a scary process, more so for a Jinchuriki like her, but they pulled through like they always did. Nothing went wrong with her doing her best in holding Matabi back while pushing Yukari out of her womb. Nothing went wrong with Kan using his newly invented seals to ensure that the cat never had a chance to come out to play. They knew that everything was worth it when they finally held their daughter in their arms with happy tears in their eyes. They have no regrets. Yukari is their pride and joy. Although she would really appreciate it if her daughter stops giving her a massive headache every 5 minutes. Come on, Yukari, let's be a little quieter and let your mother sleep, okay? She just came back from a long mission. She is thankful that someone among the two of them is good with children. Thank God for Kan. What will she do without him? She didn't fall asleep immediately. She was awake long enough to feel him climbing onto the bed and lie beside her, hugging her close to him with her back pressing against his chest. Even without looking, she knows that he must be tired as well. Babysitting Yukari is no easy feat. She'd rather face an entire army of enemy shinobis than to babysit Yukari for a single day. Thanks, she murmured as she let the sound of his breathing lull her to sleep, enjoying the sensation of being cuddled against him and basking in his warmth. He didn't give a verbal reply, but the light kiss she felt on her neck is all she needs to know. She's 29 years old now. Things are starting to look chaotic once more. Tension is rising throughout the elemental nations. The fragile peace had been broken ever since the Konoha invasion happened 2 years back. Sure, things didn't spiral out of control immediately, but the signs were all there. Tensions had been steadily building and rising among the shinobi villages ever since Konoha lost their third Hokage to Orochimaru. Now, they have to look out for this rogue organization named Akatsuki. If what their intel suggests is correct, they're after the tailed beasts, which means that they will be after her. This also meant that they might come after her husband and daughter to get to her if need be. That cannot be allowed to happen. Kan is worried as well. Even the cage had recently fallen to the Akatsuki's hands, and it's a miracle that he's still alive at all. She can tell that Kan is gradually going stir crazy at the growing possibility of her facing the Akatsuki. It can be seen from how he is throwing all his free time into Fuinjutsu, the branch of shinobi arts which he claims is the most powerful branch of shinobi art, but yet claim that he could never be an expert in it. There's just too much to learn, and he just isn't gifted enough to understand it all, only managing to specialize in a few select areas of Fuinjutsu. She knows how much she means to him. She is trying her best to reassure him that she will be alright even if she ever faces the Akatsuki. She told him time and time again that she is powerful and strong enough to hold her own just fine. She can tell that her words didn't really reassure him all that much because these are S-rank missing nins that they are looking at. She cannot even fathom just how powerful the leader of the Akatsuki must be to command such a powerful team of shinobis at his beck and call. Bring this with you at all times, especially when you are out for missions. She looked at the small piece of paper he handed her, almost believing it to be some kind of evil warding talisman he had gotten for her from some temple. She would have believed it to be the case if she didn't recognize the seals drawn on it. She would recognize the calligraphy anywhere. This is his handiwork. What is this for? She asked curiously as she tucked it securely within her pocket while dressing herself up for her next mission. It's a mission that will take her 2 weeks, give or take. The Raikage had limited her movements to within the land of lightning because the Akatsuki had been growing bolder lately. so every single mission she was assigned on never allowed her to venture outside their country's borders. You know of Mabu's heavenly transfer technique? Her eyes widened as she whipped her head around to look at him, her actions taking a temporary pause. Just what kind of crazy seal did he invent now?
That seal acts as a tracker, or to be more accurate, a beacon to me, so that I will always know where you are. I had invented a technique that allows me to temporarily transform into lightning itself,
allowing me to travel great distances in a very short period of time. I just need something to help me know where I am going. This seal is that something. Think of it as a lightning rod that guides me to its location, he explained after seeing the shocked look on her face, his hands going up to help her tie her long hair into her usual ponytail. If you are ever in danger, and especially if you bump into any Akatsuki members, I want you to send a pulse of chakra to the seal immediately. Khan, promise me, please. His arms hugged her around her waist and pulled her into his embrace, his face burying itself into her shoulders near the crook of her neck. She gave a small sigh, a faint smile forming on her face. I promise. Promise what? That if I am ever in danger, or if I ever bump into the Akatsuki, I will send a pulse of chakra into that seal immediately. Good, he mumbled before pressing a kiss to her cheek, still hugging her close to him. Stay safe, Yukari, and I will wait for you.
Won't keep you two waiting. I will finish the mission in a week.
Remember to say goodbye to Yukari before you go. She was mad that you left without a word the last time.
Yes, yes, she nodded and patted his arm with her hand. I will see if I can get her some new toys while I am at it. It will be so good that it will easily be her favorite toy. The puppet that you got for her during your mission to Suna will have nothing on it. He snorted. Good luck on that. Oh, the challenge is on.
Just her luck, Akatsuki, they're here, trying to capture her. She had sent a pulse of her chakra through the seal Khan had given her. It didn't outwardly react other than glowing a little redder. She still doesn't know just what she should expect from the seal beyond that she needs to keep it close to her at all times. Khan must be on his way, and with that, reinforcements from the village. She just has to hold on until then. If it was her from before, she would have no doubt tried taking them on alone. She's still confident that she could take these two bastards by herself, but things are different now. She is now a wife and mother. She now has people waiting for her back home. She will do her darn best to get back home alive like she promised him when they first confessed to each other under the moonlit sky. And if that means swallowing her pride and waiting for reinforcements to back her up, then she will gladly do so. She transformed into Matabi and crushed the annoying silver hair freak into the dirt. She crushed him again and again, but somehow he just couldn't seem to bloody die. Then, pain was all she knew. Ahahaha. This feels good. Scream. Pray, Lord Jashin will be pleased. She doesn't know what happened because she suffered grievous injuries on her person all of a sudden without knowing why. Her transformation was forcefully stopped as she reverted back to normal. Some sort of weird black markings had appeared on the silver hair freak, and every time he stabbed himself with his scythe she would feel the same pain too. So much that she could do nothing but roll on the ground screaming herself hoarse, even with Matabi's power working at full strength trying to heal her body. She clenched her teeth as she tried her best to fight back even in her disheveled-looking state. Her long hair had come free from its binding, and even her forehead protector had been lost somewhere down the line. The pain is just that unbearable. Khan is waiting for her at home. Yukari is waiting for her at home. Yukari's new toy is sealed within a scroll in her weapons pouch, and she has promised their daughter that she will be back to surprise her with a cute kitty plush toy when she gets back from her mission. She cannot die here. She cannot break her promise to them. Just as she was trying to fight back once more, lightning crashed right between her and her foes. Her eyes widened. This isn't ordinary lightning. This is red lightning, and there's only one person in the elemental nations who can use this brand of lightning. Red Lightning Khan, bounty of 50 million Ryo alive, 40 million Ryo dead. What a good day this is. Fuck off. A huge discharge of red lightning blew up the entire area they were at. Yugito screamed once more as this time. The sensation of getting shocked by lightning hit her with the force of an entire storm. Even when she wasn't struck by it, she felt herself being carried out of the area, and even without looking, she knew that she must be in Khan's arms. Sorry, there wasn't a better way to release you from the curse that Jashin freak of nature put you under. Hang in there. Reinforcements are coming. The rakeage will be here too. Khan. She struggled to move as her wounds started to painfully close themselves with a hiss of steam. She's too badly injured to even move. She won't be able to help him until Matabi has worked its magic and healed her enough to fight once more. Rest, Yugito, you did well, I will protect you. He pressed a light kiss on her forehead and gently lay her by the base of a large tree. When he stood up and turned around, it was just in time that the Akatsuki duo caught up and Yugito could only helplessly watch as her husband calmly stood in the way of the two. Immortal bounty hunter Kakuzu, undead Hidan, you have arrived after all. You faithless fucker. How dare you interrupt my precious time with Lord Jashin? I will bleed you dry, skin you alive, and offer your innards to him as recompense. You and that bitch both. Quiet, Hidan, he's worth 50 million ryo alive. I am afraid I don't share any of your religions. I do not pray to God, and neither am I a slave to money. This is where we part. Another huge burst of red lightning blew up the area they were at and Yugito heard the telltale sounds of combat even before the dust had settled. She gritted her teeth and tried to move, trying to will Matabi's power to work even faster, trying to fill her chakra coils with that potent raw-tailed beast chakra once more so that she can be there to assist him. An elongated red blade of lightning sawed through the surrounding area, forcing the Akatsuki duo to keep their distance. Yugito watched as the red blade of lightning retracted until a huge concentration of red lightning crackles in her husband's hand. The silver hair freak Hidan. That's the name that masked freak and her husband had called him by, is still cursing up a storm. Her gaze then turned to Kakuzu. She had heard of him, the boogeyman of Taki. She just didn't expect him to be the immortal bounty hunter. What the flying fuck? Isn't this fucking Kakashi's technique? So the rumors were true. Sharingan Kakashi and Red Lightning Khan did invent similar jutsus. Interesting. What the fuck? Kakuzu, now is not the time to be complimenting these heathens. Khan made the first move as he threw chakra senbons constructed from his red lightning at Hidan. It nailed him good as Hidan could do nothing but spasm from the electricity running through his body. Kakuzu moved and put himself in Khan's way. A powerful punch tore through Khan and Yugito screamed his name in worry, only to realize that it was a lightning clone that Kakuzu had punched, and now Kakuzu is on the receiving end of the full shock of Khan's red lightning. There was a shrill whir that screeched through the air as the Akatsuki duo tried to fight against the paralysis. Khan reappeared above them with a chakra construct in hand and Yugito's eyes widened. She had never seen this jutsu in person before, but she had heard enough descriptions of it from the survivors of the Third War that had escaped the wrath of Konoha's Yellow Flash. This has to be one of his signature jutsu, the Rasengan. Had Khan seen the Yellow Flash in action before? Had he fought against the Yellow Flash before and lived to tell the tale? He had never liked talking about the things he had been through during the Third War, so she never pried, because she knows the war brings about nothing other than to force him to relieve bad memories. He had never been all that forthcoming about the period of time which they missed out on each other's life during the Third War, so she really doesn't know. But if Khan had somehow recreated the fourth Hokage's signature technique simply by seeing it once, then just how good is he? Khan slammed the Rasengan on Kakuzu and grinded his body into the ground. He would have continued to do so if it wasn't for a scythe being thrown his way and he was forced to escape with a substitution technique. Khan didn't let up but released another huge blast of red lightning that tore the land apart, buying him some time to catch a breather. Yugito gritted her teeth and concentrated on recovering. She is starting to be able to move again. Her wounds had healed enough to do so. Her chakra reserves are quickly building back up. Just a little more and she can join him in battle. Rasengan. That is the Rasengan. How? Who are you? Kakuzu's deep voice growled out from within the dust cloud. Khan simply responded with a calm voice. You said it yourself, Red Lightning Khan. 50 million Ryo bounty alive, 40 million dead. If the fourth Hokage can invent this spinning chakra ball of doom, then so can I. You are going to regret destroying one of my hearts, brat. Yugito felt herself getting picked up immediately just as the ground below them erupted. A pair of hands attached to some sort of black tendrils tried to grab at them, but Khan's red lightning kept them away. Her hand quickly patted on Khan's arm, signaling for him to put her down. I've recovered enough. I can still fight. Don't fully transform. The Scythe Guy's jutsu works by ingesting his opponent's blood and then activated by drawing a symbol on the ground using blood, probably his own. From what Kakuzu said earlier, it's likely that he had also attained some form of immortality too. Don't be reckless. Well, aren't you just brilliant? Kakuzu roared as elemental jutsus of all chakra natures assaulted them from out of nowhere, and this time, Yugito is the one who destroyed them all with an angry snarl. She prowled on all fours in her version 2 chakra mode, as Wabi called it. She will be enough to defend Khan from harm as he devises a way to put this immortal duo down. Khan used the opening she bought for him and appeared behind Hidan with a flicker, sword drawn. Hidan's reflexes were unfortunately fast enough to avoid a beheading blow as his scythe clashed against Khan's sword with a metallic clink. Khan smirked as his blade suddenly had a reddish glow as lightning coursed through it. The sword cut through Hidan's weapon like a hot knife through butter and cut Hidan's body into two at the same time. Didn't you guys say that my technique is just like Kakashi's? Then why are you still fighting me in close quarters?
Kakuzu rushed at Khan with 3-thread monsters, but she was faster, hurling massive fireballs at him before he could harm her husband. 1-thread monster turned to face her and she would have nearly obliterated it if Kakuzu didn't fuse the monsters with him in the nick of time. Ew. Disgusting. Fuck. Kakuzu. Hurry and sew me back together.
Quiet. Khan didn't allow Kakuzu to help Hidan or to take a break as he fought off the monstrous immortal with expertise. It is then Yugito truly sees what Khan could achieve when he is fighting at full power. Even when they had been together for so many years, this is the first time she had seen him going all out, not like the light-hearted spars they had whenever they trained together.
He really is brilliant, and she is proud to say that.
She continues to provide long-distance support with her arsenal of fire jutsus, quickly turning their battlefield into a fiery hell. It wasn't long before storm clouds gathered above them thanks to the heat unleashed, and Khan took control of the natural lightning in the sky, just like how they had once done it on Han. Last they checked, Han still has the nasty scars that reminded him of his defeat by their hands during the Third War. Come to think about it, is Han still alive? Or had he already been captured by the Akatsuki just like the Cage did? Kirin. Natural lightning crashed down on Kakuzu at the speed of light, and Yugito watched on in both awe and fear at how Kakuzu managed to defend himself from the worst of it. She immediately rushed up to Kakuzu to keep up the pressure, not allowing him the chance to recover. Yugito, get back! Another shrill whir can be heard, but this time, it's different. Khan reappeared with another Rasengan, but this Rasengan now has a dangerous amount of red lightning imbued into it. Knowing what Khan is trying to do, Yugito extended her arms using the properties of her chakra shroud of her version 2 mode to pin Kakuzu in place from a safe distance. Kakuzu roared as he tried to break free, but he won't be fast enough. Khan is already in front of him. Die. The lightning Rasengan was shoved at Kakuzu's chest and their surroundings got torn asunder. Khan. She managed to grab him out of the blast radius just in time as her chakra shroud receded, sustaining it any longer and it will be detrimental to her already injured body. She spotted electric burns all over Khan's arm that he used to shove the Rasengan at Kakuzu, and her heart pained at the sight. These scars are most likely going to stay even after his arm is healed. The dust eventually settled, showing them the sight of two very dead and extremely mutilated corpses. They had done it, they had slain the immortals. She wasn't expecting him to suddenly pull her into a tight hug. Khan, you are alive, he rasped out, you are alive. I am fine, we are all right. See? His only response was to hold her tighter with his only working arm, and she wrapped her arms around him as well, telling him that she is all right, that she had held true to her promise to return back to him. That was the position that they were found in when their Raikage came charging right in together with an entire unit of elite Jonin. He took one look at them as Yugito awkwardly tried to pry herself from her husband's arm only to fail. And then back at the very dead and scattered pieces of corpses strewn about the site of their battle, they could barely recognize the pieces of Kakuzu and Hidan in there. Khan's version of the Rasengan had violently ripped them into so many pieces that screamed of sheer brutality. The smell of charred flesh told everyone enough that Khan must have been the one to deal the final blow with his signature red lightning. Khan, you can release me now, the Raikage is looking at us, she hissed into his ear, but it was like he had blocked out all outside stimulus. It took her a while to finally get him to snap back to reality. I expected nothing less from the both of you. If you are still able to move, then we head back immediately, the Raikage said with a snort as he signaled for his men to clean up the mess, probably hoping to glean some sort of secrets from the corpses of the dead S-rank nins, if anyone could actually piece them back together in the first place. Wait. Khan caught their attention as he rolled out a scroll on the ground with some unknown seal array drawn on it. They watched as Khan knelt down in front of it and closed his eyes, fingers held in a hand seal as though concentrating hard on something. It took a while, but his eyes did eventually open. I knew it, found you. The seal markings on the scroll moved and immediately expanded outwards across the ground that they were standing on in a split second. stretching further than what they could see. Yugito watched as Khan quickly went through a long list of hand seals as the seal markings slowly compressed back towards the scroll and dragged along with it something black, some black gooey thing with yellow eyes. Let go of me, Arg. What is this? You will not bring harm to anyone ever again, seal. Everyone could only watch in silent wonder as the mass of black got sealed into the scroll. Khan quickly rolled up the scroll the moment it was done before obliterating it from existence with a blast of red lightning. Khan. There Raikage's questioning frown is shared by everyone present. What was that? I sensed its presence since the start of the battle, but I could never pinpoint its exact location until now. It just doesn't feel human, so I decided to use my new seal to lock it in a separate dimension for all eternity and destroy the only space-time link to this world so that it will never come back, that is all. You deemed it to be that dangerous? Very, Raikage-sama, Khan replied respectfully with a slight bow given the injuries he is sporting. C is trying to heal his mangled arm back, but proper treatment could only be done back at the village. It was a wonder that he managed to form that long list of hand seals earlier when he was sealing that black thing. Very well, there Raikage closed the issue without prying further, showing the trust he has in Khan. It wasn't long before the entire squad were on their way back to the village and Khan carried her on his back despite her protests. I can run on my own just fine, you know? And that arm of yours, you are in no state to be. I am using my other arm, aren't I? Sleep, Yugito, you deserve it. I will wake you up when we get back home. Hopefully B hasn't taught Yukari how to rap like he does. Wait, you left Yukari with B? A round of muffled laughter was elicited from the shinobis around them and even their Raikage visibly sighed. It was an emergency. Who else can I find at such a short moment's notice that is strong enough to protect her and will be in the village? At least things won't be dull with Yukari and B together, Darui offered, but Yugito shot him a glare that got the lazy man to shut up immediately. Like hell she will allow B to corrupt her daughter. Sleep, Yugito, I'll wake you when we get back. Khan's gentle voice lulled her as her eyelids started to droop. No doubt he is using some form of auditory genjutsu to put her to sleep, but she didn't bring herself to fight back against the effects of the genjutsu despite it being a C-rank genjutsu at best. Love you, she mumbled as she finally allowed sleep to claim her, resting her head against his back and a smile on her face. It feels great to be loved. Do you think we should try for another kid? She's 31 years old now. Things changed once more. Akatsuki had been eliminated. A fourth world war had been sparked by a fake Madara wannabe not long after their run-in with Akatsuki's zombie duo, but the Shinobi Alliance brought the Akatsuki down soon after. She herself had nearly died many times in the war and so did Khan. It was just that dangerous. After all, the real Madara was reanimated by the slimy snake known as Yakushi Kabuto. Fucking Konoha and their incapability to put a leash on their unhinged geniuses. However, it was worth it. An era of peace had been ushered after the Fourth War, peace the likes of which the elemental nations had never experienced before blossomed across their lands. She has her fellow Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Naruto, to thank for that. The 5 major villages are starting to cooperate with each other to avert the possibility of another war happening once more. Yukari is old enough to attend the academy now, which means that they now have a lot more alone time with each other. Letting her terrorize her classmates instead of her poor parents is a really brilliant move on their part. Raikage-sama will have another headache if that really happened, Khan mused as they both laid on their bed, comfortably snuggled against each other with their eyes closed.
Matabi's a lot more cooperative now. It will be fine, she whispered into his ear with a seductive tone as her finger lightly traced his jawline. She let out a surprised yelp when he suddenly pinned her under his body and began to plant kisses all over her body while clumsily getting rid of the few clothes that they are wearing.
Khan. A little warning next time. Time waits for no man and it's time to get Yukari a little brother or sister so that she can stop bothering us to give her a younger sibling. At least let me MMPH. You beast. At least let me finish speaking.
You were the one who seduced me, and Yukari won't be back until late afternoon. Babies aren't going to pop out of nowhere, Yugito, he said with a low husky voice near her ear that got pleasant shivers running up and down her entire body. Whatever happened next ended up being another memorable intimate experience that she will remember for eternity. Meeting him was really the most fortunate thing to have happened in her life. That for now, thanks for watching.